What up, Gamer Nation? Heretic here. I'm here today to give you a glimpse of the upcoming Sony title developed by Q Games, The Tomorrow Children. This title was announced about three years or so ago back, so you might not be too familiar with it, as it has been making very few appearances over the last few years of its development time. So, what exactly is this thing? I'm sure that for those of you who've seen the footage can be kind of perplexed by what's going on. At first it appears to be a simple Minecraft inspired title where you control a character and utilize various tools to farm for collectibles and resources in many locations. This is true to some degree. It would be easy to write this game off at a glance and see it as a simple Minecraft wannabe, but I can assure you that this is not the case, and there is much more here than meets the eye. The world presented is absolutely unique and does well in making a strong initial impression and establishing its own trippy backstory. So here goes. The Tomorrow Children is a retro-futuristic Cold War-inspired post-apocalyptic alternate timeline where in 1967 the Soviet Union used an experiment to merge all human minds into one global consciousness. However, this experiment went totally off the hinges, as instead of merging humanity into one entity, it wound up destroying the entire planet along with all organic life ever. Bet you couldn't tell that from the trailers, huh? You might not even tell when you first boot up the game, as there is very little context to what's happening in the story. The game relies on the theme of nationalism, communism, and many political undertones, but you wouldn't know that, as the game promptly gives your little clone girl a shovel and demands you start working to rebuild a post-apocalyptic Russian paradise, if you can call it that. But enough of that pseudo-political mumbo-jumbo. How does the actual game play, and why should I throw my money at it, you ask? It's hard to explain this game without going hands-on with it, which I was able to do, luckily. But the basics are like so. The game is a third-person action platformer, put in the simplest terms. Yes, there is a good bit of exploring and farming, with a few neat action sequences for those kids who run around with sick kill streaks and hella cool jetpacks and ridiculous care package spamming. They'll be glad to know that it's not just walking around aimlessly without the promise of a little bit of action, though the action does make up about only 20% of the game, I would say. There are combat scenarios, but they do make up a very small portion of the game. You play mostly by going out to these islands, which appear and disappear at certain times, gathering as many resources from these structures as humanly possible to rebuild your Russian town bit by bit. This sounds a bit boring at first, as you will be walking around exploring the town before actually getting to the islands, even though this can be done immediately. Also, the game will set you back about, because there is a learning curve, and the game does have a slight lack of tutorial for all you ADD kids out there who can't be bothered to learn things. But eventually the tasks and work become more enjoyable with progression as you get access to more varied equipment. You will mostly be learning the game's mechanics with experimentation over time. The introduction to the town or game server really is your first step in the world, as the developers really try to pull you into this communistic new world order. Though they don't beat you over the head with it, but it's obviously apparent, as 99% of the dialogue consists of Russian for added immersion. Speaking of immersion, the game is grounded enough to make you feel as though the world has just gone through total destruction, as the town is at first only made up of a handful of vendors, buildings, and some scattered state police, with nothing much else to look at other than the endless white void that once was the world, or the planet as we knew it. The atmosphere as it stands is great at pulling you in and stays strong, even though the world is populated with other clones like you, which are of course human players. You know, if you're like me and you enjoy games such as Dark Souls or Bloodborne, then you know a little bit about asynchronous multiplayer, which is what this is. And the game will give you many ways to farm and rebuild your city. First, there are tools, which can be something straightforward like a pickaxe or a chainsaw or a jackhammer, or you can use something more off the wall to work with, like dynamite, rocket launchers, or void power-ups. All of these make for more fun and interesting ways to play with and alter the environment. You can break down walls on the islands the hard way by hammering away with your pickaxe, or using one of the void items to create or remove obstructions in more unique shapes as the situation requires. Some resources to mine would include, typical metal, wood, or coal. But I think the main point of the game would be to find these little Russian dolls hidden away within the island structures. That way you can bring them back to the town and Frankenstein them back to life to create actual, quote-unquote, human characters. And these human characters in the game are actually NPCs, though from what I can tell, they don't actually do anything for now, besides require the scavenging of food so that they don't die. And they don't actually contribute to the town growth, except just physically and visually. That's about it. Like I said, there's a lot to experiment here with, but I found it's that level of experimentation and its unique execution that kept me coming back and hopping back and forth between the town and the islands as I find better ways to make my town grow. The number of features started really to show only after a couple hours of gameplay, as I grew to have access to different transportation like hoverboards, jetpacks, skis, which can go on your clone girl. But I didn't get to unlock these, by the way, so sorry for the lack of footage. As well as weapons like shotguns or rocket launchers that can kill any attacking monsters that hide within the islands, or fend off these massive 10-story tall Godzilla type monsters that threaten the entire town, and require everyone to get to step in on those resources if they want to build more badass defenses, like cannons and tanks, so that the city won't get wrecked by Godzilla, or the flying pterodactyls, or the giant spiders that roam the outskirts of the city ominously while you await the next inevitable attack. Yeah, it can get pretty exciting sometimes. It's not just all mining and farming, like I said. These battles are awesome to look at, and as in true Russian fashion, if you call it that, everyone has to contribute to growth and expansion of the town for the greater good of everybody, and every player on the server fights to protect what they create. There's a genuine sense of community as players work well in teams, whether that be through mining and altering the environment to make work easier for teams, or using resources to build structures in the town, like generators that power lights at night, or workbenches that allow for more crafting, vodka machines that give power-ups, or just fun little simple distractions like swings or ladders for your character to interact with or play around with just to kill some time. Some aspects can get quite annoying, like waiting in line to craft things again for the sake of immersion, or the puzzles and the craft benches that require more work after farming that in other games would just give you the items that you worked for after about 20 minutes of solid work. The puzzles in these mini games are simple to comprehend, but call me an idiot, it took me about 3 tries over 10 minutes to move the damn numbers across the board before the timer ran out, which got annoying to me, but I guess that's about as easy as it gets. I was never a good puzzler, but always good behind the gun of an FPS game. Even though these puzzles can be annoying, they are a minor gripe, as the game overall shows tremendous effort put into the quality of the presentation, including the subtle music that changes as you hop from island to island. Each island has its own music that I found very soothing to listen to, very unique. Or the simple art style, but very complex art style as well, that the game adopts, that are inspired by real world symbolism of actual real life foreign superpowers. I just found it interesting. There are some other cool little tidbits, like there's also a black market system that you can call up anytime for power-ups or weapons on the fly or under the radar of the government, if you will. And also underhanded ways to access special items like licenses or permits from local police in the usual shady underhanded way that subverts the oppressive commie structure. You can also build your own home in town to customize your clones. You can use these towns to, your homes to change the clothing of your clones, and it also enables you to vote for the town mayor, which each mayor has its own perk that helps out the town. Like if you vote for this mayor, he'll give you a faster, cheaper production rate on weapons, or if you vote for this mayor, he'll give you faster transit between islands and towns. All in all, the game looks great, it sounds great, and plays great, with a lot of replay value given thanks to the uncanny mining locations, as well as the space manipulation within the environments. The Cold War Russia work ethic theme plays well into the gameplay itself and is very enjoyable if you're looking for a more laid-back, casual experience. Though when the final version releases, I hope for more of an end-game sequence for the story, or a final outcome for your town, and all the effort that went into it for a satisfying sense of closure, as many titles over the years have slacked in terms of story endings where they intentionally sequel bait you or just end abruptly without much satisfaction or commitment of the plot progression. You should definitely keep your eyes out for this one, as it is set to launch later this year for PS4. Like, sub, comment on what games you look forward to in 2016, or tell me what games you would like to see me cover. Don't forget you can catch me on Twitch. That would be heretic_OP, as I will be streaming the Division beta this Friday, and would like all of you to be there, or actually play with me. Sure, why not? It's all about expanding the library of kick-ass titles that push the industry forward and elevate our experiences above and beyond any other form of entertainment on this planet. Games for life, people. Games for life. This is Heretic, signing out.